Hello, everyone. Hey, welcome, guys, to this. Hello, guys. Welcome to this entrepreneurship track. We are happy to have you. Today, we are going to present. We're going to follow the journey of Miss Rekha Sharma and Hira Wahajat. Hi, how are you? Um, Please, can you tell us a little bit about yourself so the young professional can know you? Hira.
Yeah, thanks, Juliana. My name is Hira Wahajat, and I'm based in Pakistan, but I work with a lot of climate impact startups from across the world. And I think the last 5 years with the startups, but previously almost since 2012 within the sustainability and impact space with the corporate sector, with the development sector. So a lot of interesting things happening. Seen a lot of different trends happening, and happy to be here on this entrepreneurship track with you guys today.
Thank you. Miss Rekma, please.
Yeah, and you can call me Rekha. Oh,
Rekha,
yeah.
sorry.
So, hi everyone, and whoever is listening. My name Rekha Sharma, and I was born in India. I did my undergrad in electrical engineering, did my master's from Texas, again in the same power system, electrical engineering. Then I went to the industry, worked for Siemens, ABB. Uh, Most of my career, I think I worked for California. Uh, and I think that's where I understood what the electrical engineering is more than when I was studying it.
Hmm.
But then, of course, the things which helped me through this journey was my few internships in LCR. In L&T first, in Faridabad, there was a factory where I could like literally see things, but uh, I used to see in the book and I imagine something, but when you actually go to the factory, you start seeing things. So that excited me to kind of stay there because that was the time when I was studying. Everyone was moving to computer science, and that was more lucrative, field.
Hmm.
But then, thanks to L&T and then NTPC internship, I still kept going here. Then, definitely to mention California. So where I understood what's happening in the industry on the grid level, what is a renewable resource, how can it impact the grid, how can it impact the whole economics of the like electrical ecosystem, and why having renewable is important. Because when in Siemens I started designing coal plant and natural gas plant, but those were the times when probably we didn't care so much about emissions. It was just not in the talk. But I can see that in like especially last 5 to 10 years, people are bending towards more sustainability route and more like clean emissions and net zero route, and that kind of excited me to start my own venture, which is Solve4X. I'm working on it like almost 2 years now. I'm now based in Toronto, trying to just work this startup up. We are still small, like a team of 12. I'm working on solving the challenges that our utilities will face with having EVs coming on road. EVs can be seen as loads, and having so many EVs on the road, we're going to have 4 times more load that the supply is. So there's definitely a big challenge for us. But then, how can I change this challenge into an opportunity? Is what I'm working on through Solve4X. And I think I'll stop here for the introduction, but we'll talk more about what Solve4X is and what my journey is on that project so far. All right, off to you, Juliana.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing your experience and your journey. Uh, the first question that I want you to ask about this entrepreneurship track is is, can you tell me, Reka, about your company, Soltex, Sol4? How was the early stage and its evolution?
I would say I can still call it early stage, but then I can go from the phase where I got the idea and I started researching. Uh, so in nutshell, it is basically trying to help fleet operators. Think of it as Walmart, right? They have so many trucks. Governments are pushing them to go sustainable, having transportation industry on the gas vehicle. It contributes to 30% of the emissions, right? On the other side, energy industry contributes around 25% of the emission in US. Now combined, if you just can solve these two problems, that's 60% of the problem, right? And that's what I'm working on. We are encouraging electric vehicle adoption, or basically renewable transportation adoption, and we are trying to see what we can do, what tools we can make to get this journey streamlined. So I have, without going too much into detail on the product line, but I think on the journey side, the first phase of any uh, any of such venture is the ideation. So there was this good understanding of electrical grids, of how the energy industry works, and what are the things happening in this side. And then again, reading and doing my own market research on the electric vehicle, because now it's come like mainstream, which actually is has come like real fast. Like in 2022, everyone is just talking about EV and EV adoption, especially in the commercial industry. There was no talk till last year, but now everyone wants to switch to EV. If for like a small pickup trucks, light duty trucks, they want to do it now. They want to do it yesterday. And even for the big long haul trucks, which goes from one state to another state, they want EV. Might not be the solution for them. They want to go to hydrogen, but they want now. There's a demand just created all of a sudden for me, which is a very good thing. But this is the thing that I had to predict 3 years back, right? So there has to be so much research and prediction happen, not in terms of the load forecast and the supply forecast that we do in the electrical system, but the demand forecast in terms of what I'm trying to do. Will people want what I'm trying to make? Because unless there is a market, no matter how good your product is, nobody's going to buy. So that's something I think as an engineer I didn't understand, the business side of it, that there is this product that you make, and there is this business side of it. So thanks to I think I didn't mention one thing which I should. After like 10 years of working, I did go to business school. I realized I am a very good engineer, but I had no clue about business. Same for my family. I do not come from business family, so I did go to business school, just to understand basics of, like, all these things, to the
Yeah,
finance, accounting, to the entrepreneurship strategy. uh,
to have a guidance.
Right, yes. So, and then to have a proper training on like this business. So that actually did change my perspective. Like, what is customer discovery? What is customer like journey and journey map? All these things, I would say, if you are a third year or a fourth year student, pay attention to that, because when I was doing my engineering, startup culture was not there. Like, you are either a business person because your father is a business person, or just 1 in 100 person used to drop off and start doing it. And they used to make a product and start selling it, rather than going to VCs, and rather than starting to do this whole template that has come out these days. So it's for good and it's for bad. It's for good because there is a set path kind of like, the incubators are there within the college. So
Okay.
if you're in any engineering college, I'm sure your college will have an incubator program. If you really wanted, just have an idea and go with it. They take you through the journey of that ideation to prototype to how you will think about go to market strategy. So you have to do it maybe at this time when you're young, you're not very serious about it, and you have time, right? Just go through this because you'll learn so much on the process, I would say. How to make a business plan, how to make a slide deck for sales and for investors. So all these basic things, I think I took time to learn it because no one around me has done. uh,
Hmm.
all my friends were just doing some job. But then I'm glad that I went to the business school and I learned through that. I think I'll stop here. I hope I touched all the points that I wanted to in this question.
Yes, thank you. You talk a lot about how it is important to have a background and how to be well understood about the things that is important to have a business. So thank you for that. Here, I know that you are from service industry, but how have been your experience?
I think for us, so I'd agree with Rekha that what really works is that you understand your product market fit, right? So you need to have the right customer. And for us, we've got no investment in our company, no external investment. It's all been through revenue generated through sales. And in my case, my product would be a consulting package or a training service that I design, and then I take it to a potential customer. I pitch it. They'll buy. Obviously they'll take my service. So what that means is I'll probably be in a 6 month to even 2 years, 3 years contract, depending on the nature of the project. Sure, a lot of it is soft skills, but because it's sustainability, the work that we do touches upon strategizing and planning that entire project with the customer. The customer could be a government, it could be a corporate sector company, anybody else. So the work would start from us, and then obviously linking up to more technical people who would be doing maybe energy audits and water audits. So we'll have to bring in all the experts and things like that. But any and everything is enabled through selling product. And if you are pitching to the wrong customer, you are going to be stuck forever, right? So you need to have identified. And again, like Rekha mentioned, the mega trends are really important. So 3 years before some, and when I'm saying mega trend, it's like this. So in business school, they teach you how to do something called a Pestley analysis, right? So it's like doing a scan of what the political, economic, social, technical, legal, and environmental trends are like. And you don't only do this for business. Even an engineer, when they get into a work stream in a company like Siemens or any other, if you're heading a department, you're probably looking at these trends as well. Because if you're a sales engineer, you're trying to sell product, or if you're trying to think what if you're business development, what projects I'm going to be pitching. So you already have to start thinking about these mega trends. So but what that means is you're scanning, you're looking at what's happening in the world, you're looking at what's happening in your country, you're looking at so I already know that I'll have certain kind of companies who will be my client, and the rest won't. But maybe in 5 years time, when the big companies have already gotten their services from us, probably the other ones are going to follow, right? So being sure of that, and then just making sure that the minute we've got one project going, so the team's working on it, start working on the next customer. That's the only way to really sustain yourself, grow as a company as well, and obviously financial sustainability, because that's what's going to keep you alive for as long as you're in business. If you're not financially sustainable, you're going to be out of business. So that's the bottom line, right? There's no other way to say it.
Yeah, thank you. You're right. I mean, you said something important. It's important to know the clients. Here is can use the data science to know what is expected from the customer. So it's really good how to mix the new technology with the needs of the industry and the entrepreneurship. And based on your experience, I mean, Reka, sorry, uh, what would you recommend to ensure financial stability?
In business,
Yeah.
uh, I think there are like many types of business, right? Like what he does said, that there are more consulting project that you can start off with a small team, and then you can just grow with the revenue. And then there can be innovative projects where you have to put in a lot of R&D before you can even get your first customer. So you might be just working on something for 5 years without making any money. So I think that's why we have these systems where we can get government grants, we can get private equity funding. We can just we can start something as a consulting and then probably make some uh, ARR, which is annual recurring revenue, and then make a product out of it. So first is to identify what you're going to work on, and then the nature of the problem and the nature of the solution mainly will drive what your financial journey will be for the company. So if you are a heavy hardware company where you'll have to have access to a lab, where you'll have access to a lot of ingredients, then you have to do a lot of experimentation. Nothing less than 5 to 8 years will take for you to actually hit the market, right? Because you'll have to do so many things, and those are the companies that they generally germinate in a university or in a laboratory research institute setup, where someone maybe doing a PhD with a professor is going through, and then they are supported through government grants, and then off they go. I can give you an example. I met a wonderful lady. She did ESS. They are like fuel companies, and they're doing amazing. They're now IPO, but for first 5 years they just worked on research, and then the minute they hit the market, they went to the moon. But then there was a good funding that they got for the first 5 years to actually do the research. On the other side, you can say like what I'm doing. There is a software part, so the market to the journey to the market would be faster than any hardware kind of company, but still there's a lot of research to be done, and then there are some grants to push you through, and then you can always take private equity if you want. I haven't till now, but then this is the time that we scale. We're in market now, and we need to scale, and we're talking to good substantial customers that in like a quarter I would need to expand exponentially. So that's the time that I cannot probably go with the government grants, because it does take time for me to get it. The I would say the private equity comes in a different way faster, but this is the time that I go to VCs and start talking to them. The other thing is, like, if you can bootstrap this, you can always bootstrap a company. I've had friends where they are working and they had this idea. They've come up with a team of engineers working for them, and then they just save it from their salary a little bit, and they just contribute a little bit per month to give the salary to this. And then for 1 2 years they just kept doing this without any grants, without any VCs, just bootstrapped from their personal savings, and then probably family and friends round they ran, and they got some money around that, and then they just did it for 1 2 years, and they hit the market, then they go for a big money. So there are a lot of ways, I would say. uh, to be honest, for a good for a good company, money is one thing, like financial support is one thing, but there are a few other things that I want to highlight here. That, do you have a passion for this project or not? Are you this me or not? Like, do you understand what you're making? Are you able to make it yourself or not? And are you able to build a good team? This is something that I did struggle, like initially, like maybe first 1 year, and now I have the team setup done, and I can see the difference, what was happening a year before and what is happening now. Like, do I have someone who can actually make this product? Do I have someone who has any experience in product development and in this industry? That's myself. So that was easy, right? Because I know my industry, I know how to make things. I've done that when I was in the industry. But then, do I know how to sell it? So what Hira said, that you have someone has to sell and someone has to make. So, and usually it's very difficult to have that one person if you're scaling. So someone is always working on having this business development activity, and someone is actually doing the work. And if they're two different people, that is, I think, in terms of time, I think it's a better managed. strategy to have two different people doing it. But then when I was just doing both of them, it was taking a lot of my time from either of them. Either I'm not doing a BD very well, or I'm not doing a development very well. So now I have a BD partner who can do it for me, and I can totally see the difference. So make a solid team, be passionate about your project, because it takes really long for you to actually hit the mark where you feel like you're successful, right? Till then, only this passion will drive you. Money will be very less. On average, in my B school, they said you can just go and take a job in McKinsey and you can be like, instantly making a lot of money. But then for an entrepreneur, the journey is taxing. So I don't want to give this rosy picture also. It is definitely challenging, but if you're passionate about something, you'll sail through, right? So that's the only fuel in initial year, and then when you're successful, then there are more charm to it. But there are trends, but I've seen people just starting to follow trends without themselves being a SME in that. And I think that's where after 1 or 2, 3 years, they will fall. Like they will get demotivated in some things. If you're not passionate about it, like uh, some challenge will come where you will probably say, okay, I cannot do it anymore. It has happened to me so many times. I've heard this, it's just not happening. It's just not happening. But there was something in me which kept me going, which was not financial. It was just not
Mhm.
financial. No matter how much
Was
money you
work.
get, it was just this passion that I know I believe in this idea so much that it'll make it. And now I've started seeing that other people see the value in it, and everyone wants the solution. So I'm getting like responses that I'm like, okay, I'll have a meeting for the demo next week, and people are asking, no, 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 I need it like tomorrow. So I can see that people are really wanting it. But 2 years back, nobody was like nobody said that to me. It was just something in myself which kept me going. And that's not money for sure. That's not financial support. No matter how much grant you have, no matter how much equity you get, like the VC money you get,
Mhm.
what drives you is always your passion.
Okay, that is a plot twist, actually. But it is important to follow the passion and don't being left behind. Thank you, Reka. And what would you recommend? And Miss here, let me know your thoughts about this question. You told me that it's something about markets, but let
Yeah,
me
I
know.
mean, financial sustainability. I think at the end of the day, you could take the grants to start up and do the research. But I'll tell you honestly, I've seen a lot of startups, especially in the green space, that are struggling, especially when they're making hardware. Software is probably easier to get traction on, but when they're working on hard technology, especially in the power and energy sector, it's very difficult to get equity funding, which should be the right one while they're developing the product. And the reason for that is that it takes time to get that product out from the lab into the market, right? So you need 3 years, 5 years while you're just sort of figuring out the product. So one thing is to be very clear that maybe you'd get some grants, maybe you might have to take some loans, a debt financing or something like that. But that's not the money that will sustain you. That's only money that can help you develop your product. And what your target really needs to be is that instead of thinking that so you're not like a big corporate, right? So you're not Siemens, or you're not like a Unilever, or whichever other companies. You can't really do a lot of R&D and then spend 5 6 years just doing R&D and getting out the best version of the project. If it doesn't work, you're not even going to be able to sustain yourself if you're a new tech company. So what you really need to do is like work on your project idea, try to get as much feedback from potential customers that you can put in. So if the potential customers have a wish list, um, we keep asking them, we prioritize what are the most important features they want to see in our tech, and then try to make that version. So it could be, so in general terms, something that's like a must have for the customer, and something that's like a wow factor for the customer, right? And you don't have to give them everything. Just put in the must haves, maybe put in one thing that's a wow factor, create that product, take it to the market. So every time you're going to iterate your product, right, you keep pushing it in the market, you'll get feedback. They'll say, okay, this doesn't work, this works, this can be better. But every time you're pushing product in the market, it's creating brand awareness for you as a company. It's giving you feedback to, and it's actually doing your R&D in real time. So that's what you need to do, and you're also selling at the same time. So the bottom line is, you have your product. When you test it with your market, you get something that we call a product market fit, and the more customer that buys from you, that's the only short way to be financially sustainable. When you're on a rolling case, right? The rest of the money, it's either you're selling off shares in your company or you're borrowing money from someone. You have to pay it back. It's never yours.
Mm,
But this is what you can really call your revenue, right? Find the customer, sell your product.
okay. Thank you. Let's see. And what would you recommend to attract venture companies? I mean, venture capitalists. I mean, quick tips for it.
Yeah, but I think in my experience now, the only way to attract VCs are if you can show them traction, which technically means you have a commitment. You've either already sold to a few hundred customers, or you have a solid commitment from customers saying that we will buy your product, and that's when the VCs are really excited, because they're putting their money into you as a new company. You have no background. You're probably coming from a corporate, or maybe you've been like a student, you've been doing your PhD and you've built a product or something like that. So the only way they can really assure themselves that their money will be safe, or it's actually going to grow, because that's what an investor or a VC does. I'm putting in my money to get more money.
Yeah.
So essentially, the only way they'll be confident that it will grow if you have a lot of customer, right? So I think that's my short answer on this. Anything you ask me about finance, it's always linked to how much you can sell and how many
Mhm.
customers you can get, and that's about it. Nothing
And
else.
how good is the feedback?
Yeah, I mean, the feedback will always help you improve. That's basically what your when you look at this curve of technology enthusiasts, said the first people. So who you're looking for. The 20 crazy people in the world who paid up front for a Tesla when it's not even ready, and that money actually helped the Tesla become like a real product. So those kind of guys, the people who see that the new iPhone is coming out, and then they've already put up their money and said, okay, we want the first 100 units or whatever. There are people who do things like that. So you're
Okay.
looking for those crazy guys, right? They are your real test, and they'll back you up. You make your product, and then and yeah, maybe I've probably given unrealistic examples, but there are people in the world who do that. They're like, there's a word for them. They want to invest in new technology. Yeah, so they're these guys who want to do like frugal innovation. They want to invest in new tech. Just put their
Early
money in and see
adopters,
what's working out. They're the
innovators.
crazy people. That's it. Yeah. So Rika, over to you if you want to add something to that.
Yeah, please, Rekha.
Yeah, I think the technical term is like either early adopter or innovators. So there is this whole cycle, early adopter and innovators. And you get this in business school, and you can just Google and you get the whole graph. But then you have to cross the chasm, right? And that's what most of the VCs want. Okay. So going back, so I think one thing I've learned is business is always between this, someone is making something and someone is buying something. That's it. Everything else is a catalyst. It might just help you, but then in the end, you need to have customer, and your business plan, like your business case, should be strong, that your revenue should able to drive every investment. Because especially in last 5 to 7 years, there's a lot of VC money which is poured in. Maybe not so much in the clean tech. Now it's coming in the clean tech, but a lot of things like in crypto and everywhere, people just dream about an idea and they get like $1 million, right? So what is happening because of that is people are not pushing hard enough to get their business case strong. Because I'll tell you this idea, when I started with it, I knew something, but then we did pilots, we understood, we spoke to so many potential customers before I even started making the product, right? So that's called customer discovery phase. Like, I have an idea, and people are actually generally nice. If you just ping them and they say, you just say, do you have like 20 to 30 minutes? 20 minutes is enough. You just have 5 6 questions. If I make this, would you like it? If I this has a feature, will you like it? So you have like a list of 5 6 things that you want to know from them. But basic idea is, what are their pain points, and is your solution solving that pain point for you? One hard thing is, there is something good to have, and there is something that there is a fire right now. People will always pay for something fire right now. Like, they will always try to, whatever their pain point is, they will put in millions and millions of money for that. But if it is something, some problem will come after 5 years that they have to imagine a problem, nobody's going to give you a dime for that. So there are very hard truths which you go through, like, when you try to sell, you understand that this guy, okay, he might just give you a good wishes, like, I wish you luck, but I'm sorry, I'm not
Hmm.
giving you my money. So if a person is, giving you some money, that's very valuable. And once you have customers, VCs usually follow, right? Like, they
Mhm.
also, so I, in my B school, I also learned how this whole, venture capitalists work. It's also their job, right? Like, they have taken money from very like, very rich people. They have made a fund of 500, 800 million dollars, and it's their job to invest this money, so their
In the
investors
good
in
ideas.
turn will get money, like, it's a growth for them. So they will do all their due diligence, but their intention is only so that when they give you $1, they take, like, $5 back or $10 back. So there is something, like, 10x and 25x, and early crypto wants a 25x, means I give you $1, you give me $25. You're going to generate so much capital that I will actually make 25 times. That's insane for clean tech. I don't know what is that X number, but I'm sure it's not 25K. Even if we can get a 10K, that's I would say, a 10X for an investor should be. I hope he's happy with that. Anyways, but that's their intention. Okay, they there are some hard facts too. They get money only when you exit, right? So either, what does an exit mean? Exit means that either you go IPO, or you actually sell your company to some other big company. That's when all your VCs will get. So they might just give you a million, but they want that 3 to 5, maximum 7 years, they want their investment back. So there is a lot of, like, positive side, that, you get help to build your business, but there is also some challenges that you can face if you take VC money. uh, I think one thing which I want to emphasize is, there's only few kind of money that you can accept without guilt, and definitely, like, do not underestimate the grants in the clean tech area. There have been grants like for IP that I got. There have been grants for IP, women in IP that I've got, and they're all without equity. So they keep you going. Like, I've got this whole lab that I can go and experiment, right? Like, because I wanted few level one, level two, level three chargers. Either I go buy all of them, or I just access a lab. That itself is a lot of investment, right? Like, if I don't get that grant, I will be like shelling 100 to 200,000 dollars just to get that small experiment that I did with no equity lost, right? Uh, so in nutshell, I would say for clean tech, definitely, think about grants. uh, but if you're going to VC, you should be very close to go to market. Like, you're either in the market, or you're doing some paid pilots, some kind of traction is there. Otherwise, I don't.
Something that is trend.
Yeah, I mean, something which is selling or is going to be sold like tomorrow, right? Not
Okay.
after 5 years. That's when I think is the right time to hit VC.
Okay. Thank you. And what would you recommend? What resources or programs do you recommend for funding a startup, like in the beginning, the early stage? Is
Usefulness. I think, yeah, I just like said that answer, like, in super early when you're researching, if you're in university, like,
yeah,
university will help you.
but in the case like, is there another programs without being in the university, like, um, from IEEE programs that help entrepreneurs. Like, it is important to have a networking where you can just ask for help. Do you?
Um, I would say in today's world, there are incubators everywhere. And wherever you live, in whichever specialty you're working on, Google it and you'll find a list. right? So I'll tell you, in California area, there are two or three very good clean tech incubators, and you can apply and you can get selected, and you'll get all the connections, all the guidance that you need for your industry. One thing I would say, that way too many also, so you be selective in the ones that you get into. Are you going to get, because they just give you two three things. A, they might give you some initial funding, or mostly they give you access to advisors. You have to meet with the advisor every week. There's a lot of work, or like a homework that you're going to get, because they have this template that they have made, like in next 3 months you should have a B plan, you should have uh, your cash flow projections, your slide deck for the investor pitch, and all that. All that is good, but it takes away your time that you're not developing your product, right? So I would say, if you are meeting the right people, you're going to probably get connected to your potential customers, because in the net end, like, you have to create a product and sell it, right? So these incubators should be channels for you to reach to your ultimate goal, which is a customer. If So I would say, do your due diligence before you get into any incubator around your area, around your specialty that you're getting into. Other than that, I think I've already mentioned government grants. Like, they are pretty fair. Like, you just have to fill up a form, and you get, generally, like, if there is a match, you get it. Other than that, I don't know, like, Hira, am I missing anything? uh,
Yes, here. Can you tell us?
Uh, I mean, in terms of the programs, there are like many different ones around the world, and like some are probably specifically local, and then there are some that are international. So they kind of accept anybody and everybody. So depending on where you are based, you might also have cross-country collaborations to grow specifically technology. There might be some corporate innovation opportunities as well. So companies actually want to support startups, and they'll probably give them like a challenge question about. I mean, in fact, like there's one. There was one in Europe that I saw a couple of years back, which was asking how we can optimize the grid to actually support an influx of electric vehicles, for example, or to optimize distribution or something like that, right? So you have all of these things going on, and yes, as a startup, it is important to be out there, network, meet people, and see what all is happening. I just, on a side note, programs are normally thematic, and each incubator or accelerator that you get into, or any program that you get into, do a check on what are the kind of startups or what are the kind of technologies that they're supporting. See, in Pakistan, a lot of the times I feel that the incubation centers are more general. So when a very specialized kind of a startup, somebody who's working on hard tech or fintech or crypto or something like that, actually gets into the program because they're actually doing something so unique or good that the program wants to have them. The program is still not able to give them the kind of support that they would need, because the development trajectory of that startup is very different. A startup that's, for example, making bricks out of waste plastic, right, just to minimize plastic footprint, we would not have the same trajectory as a software, or somebody who's developing an app. And then when the two of them are put together, the kind of mentorship support they would get, the kind of feedback they would get would be very different. So that's always a challenge. So you do need to be very specific, and I think in terms of but the good thing about, well, power and energy really is that you can fit into any stream, because everything needs power and energy. I don't think there's any industry that works without power and energy. So it could be even energy efficiency devices, IoT, computing, electric vehicles, battery storage. I mean, even in agri-tech, for example, right? If you have to, excuse me, if you have to put up some kind of a hardware device that's connected to, like IoT, and it's tracking data, so you still need to have some kind of power and energy system, so robotics and other things. So you're probably fitting into every category that there is. But in that case, your passion becomes most important. What streams are you passionate about? Is it ed tech? Is it empowerment, gender? Is it health? Is it energy? So then that kind of brings it down into what your focus area could be. In that context, I mean, the program that I run in Pakistan, Climate Launchpad, is actually part of a global program, and it runs in about 60 countries across the world. And the intent is to sort of mine or look for idea stage startups that are thinking about climate SDG 13. So they do. So every country has their round. We have a cycle for call for applications, and then we do like a 3-day boot camp, and then there's like 6 weeks of mentoring. At the end of which, all of the teams. So I have 20 teams on average every year, and then other countries have their own number of teams that they can support. They go through like a regional, like a country final, and then a regional, and then eventually the global final, right? So so there's like a cash award and things like that that are given out to the finalists. And step two for them is that the top 16 teams also get to become part of the climate accelerator. That's now being run virtually, and of course, the mentors and the experts are all from Europe. So the great thing about that is that in Europe they've been at this, clean ventures and innovation for a good 10, 20 years, right? So even for me, if I look for an expert, I want my local teams to engage with somebody who's in the European circuit, only because they've been doing that for 10 to 15 years or more. And then they have a good idea of how things started up and where they are now. Um, so that really helps. But other than the climate launchpad, of course, there are very many. I think in the US, there's Lackey, which is the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator, and then there's um, something in the Bay Area that I'm forgetting the name of because there's so many.
Hmm.
But there's a lot of stuff happening around the world, right? You could be in any country, and in fact, I mean, it's like an open thing for anybody who's watching this. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and just ask which country you're based in. I'm sure you can refer you to a couple of programs that are happening just through the network. And of course, building that network really takes time, right? So when I'm saying my network, it's about 5 to 6 years of really even stalking people on
Fortune.
LinkedIn. But yeah, trust me, it works. You need to really see who's in your industry, who's doing what, and then how they can help you, and going in very specific with what you want out of them, and not just like hi. And so sort of really introduce yourself, put yourself out there, and speak about the technology that you're working on, speak about the work that you're doing. If you're doing something great, it's going to get people to get interested. And when people get interested, sure, they'll ask you questions about it. The more you talk about it, you'll already start getting some feedback on, okay, but if they ask you, how are you doing this? And you're like, okay, wait, I didn't think about this one. So then you go back to the drawing board and you say, okay, I need to maybe integrate this, right? So like even the startups that I work with, I mean, my feedback to them is you've gone through one pitch, the jury asked you some questions. You already know what's missing in your pitch, right? Put it in for the next one. So next time they don't ask you these questions, they ask you the next set of questions, and that's the only way you keep growing every single time. But yes, programs are plenty, but do sort of align with what your passion is, and ultimately it's your passion. If you're not passionate about something, you will get bored before you even start. So so don't bother.
Thank you, Hira. Climate launch is like amazing. I mean, I saw the page and it's really interesting how they just support startup for climate problems and sustainability. So, thank you for sharing. And well, what are your final advices for these young professionals that are seeing us, Reka or Hira?
I think my thing was like, if you really believe in it, just give it a try. Like, don't hold yourself back. You'll find your
Yeah.
way through. Talk to people. Get into this incubator. Start young if you can. Keep your financial stability like in control. You can always do this in parallel with your studies. Don't drop off from your college. Like you don't need to do that. So it was very cool to drop from like third year or fourth year because I did a startup, and then there's definitely 98% chance that it will not be successful according to the stats. So uh, I don't want to discourage anyone with these stats, but they are just stats out there. But you'll sail through if you try enough. There'll be a lot of pivots that you'll take over the time. There'll be you'll talk to people, you'll understand your own problem over and over, like in detail with time. So all this will happen, but then you just have to start. So just give it a shot, and you'll know. In 6 months, you'll know where is it going, and your heart will follow. And I hope like connect with me, as Hira said, connect with me, and we can have like an online coffee chat. And if you're in Toronto or in New York, we can have a coffee chat, and I can definitely share my experiences and wish you good luck. uh, yeah, that's all I think I can say now.
Yeah, I think everything that Rekha said, plus just follow your passion. There's plenty of opportunity, but you do need to. So your trajectory, in any case, even with a startup, 3 years are going nowhere, right? And it's the same thing whether you get into a job market or you're getting into starting your own company. By the time you figure out what's really happening, it takes about 3 years, and there's no way to bring down that time, right? So if you're really keen on your startup and you feel that you can't persevere through those 3 years, then and because I know there are constraints, right? Everybody has their own kind of unique situation that they're in. So there are some of us who can opt to take a risk and then sort of go ahead with it, and some people also need to sort of focus on their reality and look at what's happening at home and maybe get into the job market for that. But the point is, don't leave things half baked. you know don't start things that you're not finishing off. But it's very important to do things that are close to your heart, so you see the whole thing through from start to end, and really make something of it. And that's also the kind of credibility that your investors and VCs will look for, right? And like with the current trends, I don't think dropping out of college is actually like a good sort of a role model kind of a situation, because yeah, until unless you have like a whole lot of money to back it up, right? So you're like 1% of the world, then you can be like, yeah, sure, it doesn't really matter. But if you're not, if you're like an average middle class person who is trying to make it big and trying to work on it, which is what most startups are like, that they're trying to create something and really put it in the market and then become like the Dells and HPs of the future. It's a struggle, right? So you have to be really keen on what you're doing, and meet a lot of people, hear what they have to say, but then at the end of the day, take the decision that you feel most comfortable in executing, because getting from start to end is most important, and that's something that I feel. So anyway, yeah, that's it from my side.
Thank you, Lo, here in Reka. I mean, it's amazing to have you here. Your experience and your advices are, I mean, are awesome. I mean, we have like a lot of years of experience here, and it's a good way to start. Uh, we're going to present you a thank you poster. Let me
Okay.
wait here. Thank you, Reka, for participating in this summit, and your path is amazing. And let's see for Hira. Thank you, Hira, for being here. So right now, so I want you to invite you to the next talk. It's going to be about resilient value and metrics of read from right now to 4 p.m. UTC with Dr. Jessica Biam. Thank you all, and we have posted the link with the comment. See you in the next section. Bye.